Alright, let's do another quiz. 1 through 3, I have write the formula for these guys, and then write the name of 4 through 6. So if you want to pause it, go ahead and pause it, get these written down, and try it out for yourself. If not, here we go. So I'm going to start with these. Okay. So ammonium sulfite. First thing I do when I have a name and I need to write the formula is I identify my ions. Okay? And we know cation always comes first and then anion. So the cation in this case is the ammonium ion. So I know ammonium, I'm just going to go ahead and write it out, is NH4+. And you can reference that either from the previous videos or in your book or online. And that's the ammonium ion. Now the sulfite ion is SO3 2-. So remember, sulfite is one of the lower ones. So sulfate would be SO4 2-, and sulfite is SO3 2-. So now we could use our cross trick here to see what's going on. And remember that trick, what's behind that is how many of these does it take to balance out this charge here? Well, if we just look right here, we know it's going to take 2 1+ to balance out this 1 2-. So NH4, we're going to write that first, NH4, and now we need a 2 down here. Well, remember, this is 1 unit. This is a nitrogen with 4 hydrogens attached to it, and this whole thing behaves as 1 unit. So to show that in our notation, and when we write the formula, we put parentheses around here. And then we put the 2 down there. So whenever you see that, that's like, oh, okay, that's the ion, and it's all 1 unit. It's all bound together. Okay. And so now we put a 1 down here, so we don't even need to show that. We'll just write SO3, like that. So that's the formula for ammonium sulfite. Okay, now magnesium perchlorate. Again, I'm just going to write down my ions. So magnesium, I know that it's 2+ because it's in the second column. So 2+. And perchlorate, that's going to be ClO with something. And I know it's O4 because chlorate would be ClO3. And perchlorate is above that, so it must have another one. And this has a charge of -1. Again, you could reference that, or you just memorize it. Now, okay, different charges, so we're going to do the cross thing here. And so magnesium gets 1, and now ClO4 needs 2. So remember, this is 1 unit, that 1 ion, so we have the parentheses, ClO4, and there's 2 of them, like that. So that's the formula for magnesium perchlorate. Make sure you don't put a 2 down here, or like that, and do something like Cl2O8, because that would mean, if you were to write that, that means that you have Cl, Cl, O, 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 all these O's, but that's not what's going on there. Remember, this behaves, the ClO4 behaves as 1 unit, and we need to show that with those parentheses. Okay, moving on. Copper 2 phosphate. Okay, so copper is one of those transition metals, so we could have more than one different kind of ion. Copper could either be +1 or +2, and this right here tells us, okay, that's the copper that has a charge of 2+. Okay, Now phosphate is PO4 3-. So the charges are different, so we're going to have to do our cross thing. And I'm going to put Cu3, and now the PO4, remember, is 1 unit, and since we're putting something down here, with the parentheses and the 2. So that's the formula for copper 2 phosphate. Okay. Now, number 4, we had Fe2, and then SO4. Now, when I start doing these, when I'm given a formula and I need to know the name, I break them into ions. And I'm seeing right here, now I know that iron is a transition metal, and it could have more than one type of ion. It could be, iron 3 or iron 2 or whatever. So when I break this up, I need to think, okay, so these are different charges, so it could be that this came from here, 3+, and then this one must have gone up, right? SO4 2-. So, and then you really should double check at this point. Once you've broken it up like this and say, okay, does sulfur, or whatever this is named, does this ion actually have a charge of 2-? Well, if you reference it, you'd see that it's the sulfate ion, and that yes, it does. And then we could just run it in reverse and say, okay, if I cross those, then I would end up with this, so I'm good. So this must be iron, and since it's a transition metal, we have to specify, and we see that that has a charge of 3+, so iron 3 sulfate. Okay. Now, okay, number 5 was CuNO3. Okay, now we kind of have a problem. We know copper is a transition metal, and so it could either be, it could be +1 or +2, but let's say we don't know that. Let's say that it could be anything from like +1 to +5. So immediately, the first thing I'm going to do when I break this apart, I'm going to say, okay, this could be Cu+ and NO3-, but it could have also been that these were like charges. What if it were Cu2+ and NO3 2-? Well, if we cross those, that would give us this same thing right here. Because remember, if we had, let's say, magnesium 2+ and O 2-, since those charges were the same, we would just put that together as MgO. So that could be the case with that. So now that we're at this point, we could say, okay, let me look at my chart and see which one of these is right. Because it could be either of those. So I look at my chart and see that this does not exist. NO3 2- is not anywhere on my chart. It has to be this one. Therefore, it has to come from these, and so that would be copper, and then I'd have to specify it's copper 1, because there's a charge of +1, and then nitrate. So that's copper 1 nitrate. Now, the last one, I'm kind of running out of time here, so I'm going to go ahead and pick that up in the next video.